In, out, in, out. Easy does it. Keep Breathing is the brand new survival drama that's airing right now on Netflix. So if you haven't watched it yet, pause this video, go and binge it. It's just 3.5 hours long, and then catch up with us as we dive into the scariest moments from the series. First up, cue plane crash. Sure, it is a survival series, but does it have to start so drastically? Our heroine Liv, played by actress Melissa Barrera, barely survives the horrific plane crash that strands her on the abandoned island. Not only does the plane crash, it also slowly submerges into a body of water. It's a nasty blow for Liv, who's lived a pretty humdrum life leading up to this moment as a self-absorbed lawyer, and a pretty nasty twist of fate considering the $2,000 she blew just to get this far. Liv is forced to look on helplessly as the two men who graciously brought her to the island die slow and painful deaths in front of her. First to kick the bucket is George, who gets trapped in the pilot's seat as the plane goes down, a vicious-looking metal rod keeping him pinned to his chair. He begs Liv not to leave him alone as he breathes his last, his hand gripping hers as his whole life flashes before his eyes. It's a touching moment. As an audience, we've just been introduced to these characters, but to see George go down as a helpless Liv looks on makes it all too real. Next to join George in the ever after is Sam, who manages to make it out of the plane but only up to the shore, that too with Liv's help. That one wide-angle shot of her paddling through the water, struggling to keep afloat while clutching onto a barely conscious Sam gave us chills. As she desperately tries to secure the makeshift tourniquet around his leg, we see a close-up of the blood gushing out of him from where he's been pierced by, you guessed it, another metal rod. And it's more than enough to make our stomachs turn. This show is off to a nail-biting start. Next up, Liv is alone. Her complete aloneness and utter solitude is cemented in the first episode only when she climbs up the mountain in an attempt to get some reception, clutching onto both her and Sam's phones as if they're a lifeline. She is faced with the fact that there is no one else that she'll be able to rely on to get her out of this jam. It's a chilling realization. We complain when we can't get anyone to hang out with us on a Friday night, but Liv's literally got no one. She's alone on an empty island with no one for miles around. Forget that, there's also no cell service, no food or water. You can see the mix of emotions battling it out across her face. There's panic, fear, desperation, and mania at the prospect of what has to come. She screams into the nothingness, hoping, praying for some kind of reply from a friendly voice, anything to stop her from descending into the inevitable darkness lying in wait for her just a few steps ahead. You can see the struggle in her eyes as she slowly tries to coax herself into developing a spine and facing the unknown wilderness just rolling out in front of her with no end in sight. That one shot they get of her from the back as she stands facing that vast emptiness really puts into perspective how small and defenseless she is in the face of this wild terrain. Sure, she may have been a big shot lawyer back home, but here she's got to abide by the law of the jungle. Kinda wishing you'd watch Jungle Book, we can bet. And finally, Liv's entire backstory. It's all so traumatic and kinda makes you feel for her. You actually start understanding why she is the way she is. Via the flashbacks that pop up throughout the run of the series, we are able to piece together Liv's pretty tumultuous backstory, which ultimately led her to, alright, that's as far as we go, we're not gonna spoil the ending for you, you'll just have to watch it to find out for yourself. Anywho, Liv and her mother didn't really have the best relationship. She up and abandoned her when she was just a kid. Blame it on the rocky relationship she had with Liv's father, or her own flighty nature. She took the first plane out of their lives and never came back. We see young Liv barely able to comprehend the premature loss of her mother figure as she draws picture after picture of a womanly figure, a crude attempt at recreating the time the two of them used to spend together when Liv's mother would paint her. At such a tender age, it's not easy to come to terms with such a profound loss, and we see Liv coping with it, carrying the blame burden with her to this day. It is scary the effect that took on her, molding her into the cutthroat, stone-cold lawyer that she is today. Further intrigue is revealed when the long-lost mother was to be found not so lost after all. She had sent postcards from all her globe-trotting adventures around the world, but Liv did not possess knowledge of this fact till her father breathed his last. Not only did her mother abandon her father abandoned her too in the end. This terrifying turn of events hardens Liv's heart against others, making her unable to reach out and trust. Now it's time for some other related news. First up, Netflix loses its crown. It's not looking good for Netflix. The streaming giant is slowly being edged out of its reigning top spot by rival Disney+. The numbers revealed at yesterday's after-hours trading speak for themselves. Shares for Disney rose by 6.9%, and its viewers rose too by 14.4 million, a way better number than the 10 mil that had been guesstimated by their analytics team. But we never had any doubts. What with them releasing Ms. Marvel and Obi-Wan Kenobi last year, the sub count was bound to rocket. And to rub further salt into the wound, Netflix was only able to scrape together 220.7 million subscribers compared to the relative newcomer Disney Plus's 221.1 million. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. By 2024, they expect to have grown to a massive 245 million and counting. Disney's not going to stop till it's taken over the world. Next up, Bridgerton gets the axe. Now slow down, don't go getting your fans in a flutter. We're not talking about the hit Netflix series, just the unofficial Bridgerton musical, live in concert. The concert was the brainchild of TikTok duo Abigail Barlow and Emily Bear, more widely known as Barlow and Bear. They were planning an encore performance at the Royal Albert Hall in London, a fitting place for the two to mingle if we do say so ourselves, after their wildly successful opening night at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. But not if Netflix has anything to do with it. The streaming powerhouse slammed the girls with a lawsuit claiming infringement of intellectual property rights. A rep said that they had let the girls have their way on TikTok, but they had toed the line with their live performance. And as memory serves, the couple shouldn't just appropriate others' creative work and goodwill to benefit themselves. We think Netflix is just sore that they didn't get to explore the option of holding their own Bridgerton experience in the UK. The girls kicked their career off on TikTok as a fan project, where they released original songs inspired by the hit TV show. Julia Quinn, author of the Bridgerton series, was an avid fan, as well as Forbes, who listed them on their 30 Under 30, and drumroll please, the Grammys, who awarded the girls with Best Musical Theater Album back in April. Take a chill pill, Netflix. If you can't beat them, just sign them on to produce songs for the upcoming season. They're Grammy Award-winning artists now, after all. Finally, Netflix is Texas toast. To the sewer goes the suit. Netflix isn't the only one sending out lawsuits left and right. Major Texas cities are in a right twist because of the millions of dollars of revenue being siphoned off by streaming services each year. With more and more people opting out of cable and signing on for online subscription services, there is less and less franchise fee being paid to local governments. This means less funds available for police, fire protection, roads, parks, and libraries. A franchise fee is the bread and butter of local governing bodies to cover their many odds and ends. A small price to pay for the use of public thoroughfares by snaking comm lines. But with Netflix and its competitors not even requiring a single wire to keep them running, there's no need for this outdated franchise fee settlement. Stephen Wollens, a former Texas lawmaker, claims the companies should have been shelling out since they took over the game back in 2007. Shame on them. Austin, Fort Worth, and Dallas are just some of the big names getting ready for their big punch up against Netflix. That's a wrap for this video. Are you going to give Keep Breathing a shot or steer clear? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.